So, one of the questions that I ended my last masterclass on was, what is the cost of staying where you are? And sometimes we can quickly think of an answer to this and go, oh, yes, it's costing me this. I'm not sleeping so well, or yeah, I'm getting distracted, or whatever that is. But what I really want you to impress upon you is when we go to the intimate truth of this answer, the truth of what something is costing you, then we get to really understand why we want to change. And when we really understand the cost of something, we can be way more motivated to create some kind of behavior change so that we can move forward. So it really impacts our motivation when we are honest with the cost of something. And I know for everybody listening, there is going to be a certain behavior or a habit or a way of being in yourself that you know is having a cost. And most of us want to put that to the back of our mind for two reasons. One is because it feels too hard to change. It feels like this is my personality, I can't change. Two is we don't want to change because what we're doing ignites a lot of pleasure. It feels really good, and maybe it's taking us away from some kind of discomfort or pain. So I want to speak into that because let's just, for example, talk about maybe wanting to change our emotional reactions to things. Okay, so this is something I also talked about in the masterclass. So some of us are noticing we don't have a big buffer in our emotions, and we're having these big reactions. We're shouting like a banshee at our children, or we're flipping into this state of rage about maybe something that wasn't such a big deal, but this huge anger is coming forward. And I really want you to think about, what is the cost of this? Maybe in the moment you said sorry and it felt okay and we moved on and things were fine for a little bit, but then it happened again. And this is where the cost comes in. What is the cost of the consistency of this behavior over time? So if we think about this as an analogy, maybe we've got this beautiful ornate table and something happens to the table, it gets a little mark on, and we've got this little smooth fine sandpaper, and we just sand out that little mark, and it's okay for a while, and then something else happens and we sand it down, and then over time we keep sanding down the table until that beautiful ornate finish is gone, and we're getting to a rough part of the table that maybe doesn't look as good, and this dent is in the table and we can't get rid of it. It's almost there permanently. And that's what happens over time when we keep practicing maybe a certain emotional reaction or a behavior. Over time there is an impact. It affects maybe other people that you love, or maybe it's affecting you internally, or people at your workplace. Slowly that sandpaper wears away so that there's a permanent imprint there. And that's why we want to create a change, right? There is a beautiful motivator for you to change. If you think, wow, here is the impact of me having these big emotional reactions without any kind of buffer between the stimulus and response, the impact is that relationship is getting damaged over time. There's a long-term effect that I'm creating here. Yes, we can always repair and we can always do better, but I want you to intimately be motivated to create that change so that you can understand what I am doing with these emotional reactions over time as I'm having a long-term effect on a really important relationship. I mean, I could be, having a relationship with my child that feels different because I wasn't able to navigate my own emotions in that time. So that's an example of maybe why we would feel more motivated if we were really honest about these emotional reactions. Most of us just want to go and numb out the truth of these things. We want to go and drink a bottle of wine after that, or we feel some shame and we want to eat it away, or we get onto social media and we just want it to disappear. But I'm inviting you to really sit with the cost, and that will help you to create a new behavior or to take that next step for you to change your future direction. So another one might be social media, right? Or being on our phone. I know so many of us struggle with this. We say, oh, we'll get the phone out of our room, or we won't scroll so much. And then we find ourselves on our phone and we think, oh, it was just, I'll do better tomorrow. And then maybe today you are on your phone for 3 hours a day, which is pretty minimal actually. Usually it's 3, 4, 5, 6 hours for many people. But if we look at that time, if you actually come back and say, wow, how much time is that in a week? Or how much time is that in a year? If you are on your phone for 3 hours a day, which is pretty minimal and normal, then you are on your phone for over 45 days of the year. And that is about 6.5 weeks of the year that you are on your phone, that you are not intimately connecting with others. You're not connecting with yourself. You're not moving forward with maybe your purpose or your work. And so when we actually see the long-term impact, that is the true cost. The true cost is not usually in the day to day. The true cost is over time. So if we think about a ship that's going 1 degree off course each day, over a certain time, it's going to be hundreds of kilometers off course. You will end up in a different country if you actually keep stepping off course day by day. And this is true for our life. If we actually keep going with certain habits and daily practices that we don't think is such a big deal, over time we end up in a completely different place than what we thought. And usually it's maybe not where our purpose is. And on the flip side of that, if we can actually focus on being 1% better every day, like James Clear says, then we get to be 37 times better in a year. And what could that look like for you? Because that's the possibility of understanding the cost as we create new behavior that actually puts us into the positive, into choosing good behaviors. That's like brushing your teeth every day for the year. Over time, when you go to the dentist, it pays off. Maybe each day you can't see the difference. Same with meditating, same with eating well or choosing, what you put in your body. So these are little things to think about. And maybe for you, I just want you to think, what is the behavior that's really just slowly, consistently chipping away at the direction I want to go? Is it my inner critic and my inner judge that just keeps telling me that I'm not good enough, or why would anyone listen to me? Is that the part that needs your attention that's costing you, the self-judgment? Or is it another part of you? Is it your anxiety, or your part that gets controlling, or the part that gets hyper vigilant and worried and stops you from taking action? There is a cost to staying in these types of behaviors and parts. And it's not until we look into the future and see where it's taking us that we can actually create that change. So I invite you to think about a behavior that shows up for you that you know you'd rather not be doing that. And I would love you to really get down to all of the things that is the cost from doing that. And it might just start like, oh, I'm drinking a bottle of wine at night. That is making me feel unhealthy. What else? What else is it doing? The next morning, I can't get out of bed at 6 o'clock to do my meditation, so I don't meditate, and that's having a cost. Or I get up and I'm in a bad mood and I'm arguing with people, and then over time, I could become an alcoholic. That's the long-term cost, and that impacts my relationships. And I want you to go to that level of understanding the cost of your behavior so that you can be motivated to change. And that's a lot of the work that we do in Living with Purpose, is those little 1% changes. It's those little degrees towards our course, that map and the boat. I want to help you get more aligned on your GPS so that you can start slowly moving with consistent behavior to where you want to be, who you want to be, and how you want to feel. So I hope that invites some different thoughts for you. The cost of things is super important. Another aspect of that is what we call the Eisenhower matrix, which you might be familiar with. And in the top two quadrants, we have urgent tasks, which are the things that we have to do that require our attention. The problem is we often think that everything is urgent and we spend all our time in that quadrant. There's a couple of others that are like distracting, not important, not urgent things. But the one that I'm really inviting you to focus on, and what I really invite people to focus on when they come and do my coaching program, is what are the important things that are not urgent? Okay, so these are the things that will change your life. If you are focusing on important things, like the things that get you towards your vision and your dream or your purpose, Yeah, they're not urgent, but if you don't actually hang around with people that are going to encourage you to work on the important things, you're just going to keep cycling around the non-urgent, non-important tasks or the urgent task, and you're never going to get that traction to move to where you want to be. So when we look at the costs of doing that, we get to understand that we really need to spend some time in those important things that shift our life, the little tiny things that over time create big changes. So, this is something that I'm going to be sharing all about in the program. If you want to know more, just send me a message or go to my website and you'll find the Living with Purpose program, and you can definitely discover how to move beyond what's holding you back and really step into who you want to be.